This session will focus on implementing a sign-up functionality for our project. User registration is one of the most important module in any application because it acts as the entry point for users into the system. This session we will understand how to create a complete registration workflow using front-end and back-end integration. By end of the session, you will be able to understand the workflow and implement user registration called sign up in MicroTask Hub application. Design and develop RESTful API using Spring Boot and past API integration concepts. Configure secure database connectivity for storing users' data. Test API using Swagger UI and front-end integration workflows. Integrate the front-end sign-up form with back-end authentication endpoint. This session will help you understand how front-end and back-end system communicate during user registration. Let us first understand the sign-up workflow. During registration, a new user provides information such as user's full name, email ID, phone number, and password. The front-end collects these information and send it to the back-end APIs. The back-end API validates the input data, checks whether the user already exists, stores the user's information securely in the database. Finally, the system returns a response indicating that whether the registration was successful or failure. Now we can start implementation. Open the project core service in Spring Tools and go to the location src main Java. Create two packages, one for repository and one for services. Right click on the base package name MTH and use the option new package. Enter the package name as mth.services and repeat the same procedure to create another package for repository. Name the package as mth.repository. Now we can add interface to the package repository to implement JPA for performing database operation. Right click on the package mth.repository and use the option new interface. Name the interface as users repository. This is the repository we are going to use to perform database operation for the entity class users. So open the file users repository.java in the editor and convert the interface into a repository by adding the annotation @repository. Then implement JPA by using the keyword extends JPA repository. So just type 2 or 3 letters and use control space and select it from the list so that the import statement will be added automatically. So this is the repository created for the entity class user. So provide the entity class name in the place of T. Users is the entity class name. It is available in the package mth.model. So select it from the list so the import statement will be added. Then the second value is the data type of primary key. In users.java, we have a primary key called ID. The data type is long. So here we need to provide a data type of a primary key, long. Now the repository is created to perform database operation for the entity class users. Then add a service class in the package mth.service. Right click on it and use the option new class. Name the class as users service and convert the plain Java class into a service class by adding the annotation @service. Inside, create object for the repository by using the annotation @autowired. Name of the repository is users repository. Use control space and select it and create object for it. The annotation @autowired applies dependency injection for the object users repository. Now we can start writing a method to perform sign-up operation. During a sign-up operation, front-end will collect data from the users and send those data to the backend to perform sign-up operation. So now we can start creating a method to perform sign-up operation. Public is the access specifier and return type of the method as object. Name of the method is signup. This method will receive data from the front end. So create object for the entity class users. Users is the entity class available in the package mth.model and create object for it. Inside we can create object to send a response back, the response in the form of JSON, so that we can use a dictionary map to create a response object. And specify the data type of a key as a string and value as an object. And initialize using a new operator followed by the class asMap. Then create a try catch block for handling the exception. Finally, we can return the response object. Before implementation, open frontend and gateway project in VS Code and execute it. So go to the project workspace. It is in D drive, MTH. First open frontend in VS Code. And convert the VS Code terminal into command prompt mode and execute it. npm run dev. Now frontend is opens in the browser. Then open gateway project in VS Code and execute it. So return back to the project folder and enter into backend. There is a folder called gateway. So open it in VS Code, click on the address bar, use the command code space dot and open it in VS Code. Then start its execution. For execution, we must convert the PowerShell mode to command prompt mode. Then we need to activate the virtual environment by using the path venv followed by scripts and then activate. Once the virtual environment is activated, we can run the project by using the command python run.py. Now we can explore the sign up module. Here user can enter user's full name, mobile number, email ID, password. Then they can click on the button register. So front end will collect the detail of user's full name, mobile number, email ID and password and send this data in the form of JSON to the backend. The data will be received in the backend by using the object of entity class. The entity class users.java have 7 data members, but frontend will send data only for full name, phone, email and password. ID is a primary key and it is marked as auto generated, so no need to pass value to ID, but int role and status need to be set. This field is used to categorize the user, whether they are user, manager or admin, and this field is used to categorize the user as active user or inactive user. So go to user service.java. After receiving the input, we must set the other two fields, role and service. By using the object of entity class, we can call the set method set role and assign a value 1 by default. So we can use 1 for user and 2 for manager and 3 for admin. Then set value for the status, u dot set status and set the default value is 1. So we can use 1 for active users and 0 for inactive users. Now we can perform the insert operation into the database by using the object of users repository. So here we created an object for user repository by using the object, and we can call the predefined function save and pass the parameter object as an input. These will perform insert operation into the database. Then we need to return a response with a success code 200. So we already created an object for response. We can add a code number. Key is a code and value is 200. Then a response dot put key is a message and value we can return as user account has been created. If any error occurred, that was handled by the catch block. Here we can set a response with error code 500. And the message. E dot get message. Now the method is ready to perform user registration, that means sign off. Then we need to create a endpoint. For creating an endpoint, use the package mth.controller. Right click on the package mth.controller and create a new Java class and name it as users controller. Now convert the plain Java class into a REST controller by adding the annotation @REST controller. Then set API name by using the annotation @request mapping. Here we can set name for this API. So user will be the name of the API. Inside we can create an object for the service class by using @autowired. Name of the service class is user service. And create object for it. Now we can start adding a endpoint. So I'm using post mapping @post mapping and set name of the endpoint as sign off and create a method public object sign off and receive data from the request body, so that add the annotation @request body. While selecting the annotation @request body, make sure that you are selecting from Spring framework. If you selected from the Swagger, it won't work. And make sure that you are selecting the annotation @request mapping from the package org.spring framework. And name of the and create an object for the entity class users. So now this will receive the data from the request body. Then return by using the object of user service and call the method signoff and pass the object of users class as an input. So once the request came, that will be forwarded to signup method in user service class. In user service class, the signup method will receive the input and performs insert operation into the database and returns a response with the success code 200 with the message user account has been created. If any error occurs, that was handled by the catch block and returns the response with error message and code number 500. Now we can run this project by right click on the project name, use the option run as Spring Boot app. Once it is started, go to the browser, open a new tab, try to open Swagger UI for the Spring Tools by using the URL localhost :8001/swagger-ui/index.html. Now it displays one endpoint user/signoff. Click on it and then click on try it out. ID is a primary key and is marked as a auto-generated, so no need to pass value to the field ID. Then we can provide a user's full name and phone number and email ID, password, and these two are hidden fields. We assigned value directly on the code, so no need to pass value from the front end. And make sure there is no comma at the end. And then click on the button execute and check for the response. We are getting a response with success code 200 with a message user account has been created. Then open pgadmin and connect with PostgreSQL database and check for the table users. Then go to the database mth, then schema, tables. So we have a table user. So use query tool and execute select query for the table. Select star from table name users and execute it. Now we can see the data which we submitted using a Swagger. Users full name, phone number, email and password. In addition to that, the remaining field role and status are assigned with the default value 1. Then go to the project gateway services and open the file authentication controller. Now we are going to integrate the Python Fast API project with Spring Boot. So inside authentication controller, we have two endpoints. One is for sign up and one for sign in. Let us first integrate the sign up endpoint with Spring Boot. For that, we need to stop the execution of gateway project and install the library pip install python -env. This is the library used to maintain the environment variables in the project. Next, install another library, HTTPX. This library is used to establish the connection with the Spring Tools. So as of now, I installed a two library by using the command pip install library name python-env. Again, I installed another library by using the command pip install HTTPX. The python-env library is used to maintain the environment variable in the project, and the library HTTPX is used to integrate with the Spring Boot application. Now right click on the empty space and create a new file .env. Open it in the editor and create environment variable to save the base URL for Spring Boot project. Here we can set the base URL for Spring Boot project, http://localhost followed by the port number 8001. Then save and go to authentication controller. Import the libraries. Import HTTPX and import OS to read data from the environment file, and from .env import load_.env. So before proceeding to read data from the .env file, we must call the function load.env. Then create a global variable Spring URL and assign value by reading from the .env file. So you can use the library os.get.env. Within bracket, you should provide the variable name. Inside .env, we created a variable with the name Spring URL. So the name of the variable is Spring URL. This statement is used to read value from the environment variable and assign to the global variable Spring URL. Then we can modify the signup function to integrate with the Spring Boot. Here we need to create object for the async client from the package HTTPX. So let me create object. So now the object is created. Name of the object as client for the class assign client, which is available in the package HTTPX. Then we need to establish the connection with backend by using the object client. So let me create to receive the response from the Spring Boot. Response equal to await followed by name of the object client dot post. This will take two parameters. One is the complete URL of the endpoint and another one is input. So this is the URL of the endpoint, base URL followed by /user/signup. So the base URL is available on the variable Spring URL. So we can use Spring URL, concatenate the remaining part in the URL /user/signup, comma, we can forward the data which is received from the front end in the form of JSON to the Spring Boot. So JSON equal to the data is available in the object u dot model dump. The model dump function converts the data available in the parameter object u in the form of JSON and forwards to Spring Boot. Then next return the response in the form of JSON. So response.json. So we modified the endpoint signup in the Python PAST API authentication controller to forward the request from front end to Spring Boot application. Now we can test using the Swagger of PAST API. So go to the browser, take a new tab and use the URL localhost colon 8000. 8000 is the port number for PAST API application. Still the application is not yet started. So we must start it. Once it is started, we can use the URL localhost colon 8000. It displays the message started. Now open the Swagger by using the URL /docs. Test the endpoint signup. Click on try it out. Provide user full name and phone number, email ID, and then password. Then click on execute and wait for the response. We are getting a response with code 200. The message user account has been created. This response came from Spring Boot app. Now go to the database, open pgadmin and execute select query once. Now we can see the new data which is submitted from the PAST API Swagger. So the PAST API Swagger submits a request to Spring Boot app. Spring Boot app performs the insert operation into the database and returns the response with code 200 and a message user account has been created. Now we can check by using the front end. So go to the tab where the front end is running. Try to perform sign up operation by providing a new user details. After providing all the details, click on the button register. We are getting response from the backend. User account has been created. Frontend collects the data from the user and send this data in the form of JSON to the gateway service, which is implemented using Python PAST API. Then the Python PAST API application forwards the request which is received from the frontend to the Spring application through the endpoint signup. Then the Spring Boot application user controller receives the request with the data and forwards to signup function in user service. The user service signup function performs insert operation in the database with the help of user's repository object and returns a response with the success code 200 with a message user account has been created. So in this session, we have understood the sign up workflow, developed a registration API, configured database connectivity, tested API using Swagger UI, and also integrated front-end registration form with backend service. In the next session, we will continue with implementing a sign-in or authentication functionality for the project MicroTask Hub.